But Elias wins, LOL. We move on to the Raw Women's Championship match. Now, this is where a lot of people, I think, will split. First of all, I got to give credit to you, Mr. Marceau, because you called this. You literally called it, last week here on the show. You also called it over text as the finish was happening. You said that Shayna would get in. What's the name of her finisher? Not the Kohina Clutch. That's Samoa Joe.
Karabuta Clutch?
Karabuta Clutch, or Karabuta, whatever it's called. As she would get in the submission, Becky would pin her, shoulders, whatever. The classic, finish here where she gets pinned with her shoulders down while she's in a submission hold. And then Becky wins, and she's still the Raw Women's Champion. Now, I'll discuss the Charlotte Rhea thing later, and you already know my thoughts on that. But I did not have a major issue with this. I do think they should have I do think they should have put the belt on Shayna. I really do. That being said, though, I don't think this kills her. And another thing about the match is that it was done. The finish was done in a way where she wasn't really beaten decisively. And people are saying that Becky really hasn't had at WrestleMania in the last 2 years decisive victories, because not only did she kind of beat Shayna by a fluke, she also beat Ronda Rousey by a fluke a year ago. But I think that's the story they're going with here. That she's an underdog and whatever else. So I get what they're going for. If they have Shayna, and I said this last week, if they have Becky win here, which was definitely a possibility, and you called it, have Shayna go in there in the rematch and just beat the crap out of her and take the title. So that's really what I want to say. But I thought the match was good. They did not get nearly enough time. The fact that this got 8.5 minutes, the opener got 15 minutes, and even Elias and Corbin got more time, was criminal to me. It was really shaping up to be a good match. It was, closing in on that great, closing stretch there, and then it just abruptly ended. So other than that, I thought it was a good match. They could definitely do better, and I really would have liked, of all the matches on the show, I would have liked to have seen this go a lot longer than it did. But do you think Becky, I know you called it Mr. Marceau, but do you think Becky retaining the title was the right call?
Yeah, I think at this point, I think she's probably one of, if not the most popular person, one of the most popular people or over people in the company. So, obviously, if she lost, it wouldn't kill her. But, I think she's done great work, even though, people are starting to sour on her a little bit. But I thought the match itself was good. Could have used the crowd at the end. That, quasi-finish, that's when you need the crowd, to cheer. She pinned her, and it just,
That was it, just silence.
Yeah, so, that kind of sucked. But I thought the match itself was good. It could have been longer, like you said. I think they could have shaved off some time from the Asuka Bliss match and then the Elias Core match, gave them a little bit more time. But I thought from what they had, they did. Thought the match was good. I thought it could have used a little bit more time, but kind of played out somewhat what I predicted. I think Becky got a little bit more offense than I expected she was going to get.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good match, and I think, like you said, they could play this into her character. People keep saying she gets fluky wins, but she can be kind of cocky and kind of maybe possibly go heel turn, be like, win's a win, doesn't matter how you get it. Even if it's fluky, I won, so it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Kind of pumping her chest out. From here, I'm assuming they'll do a rematch. Technically she lost, so I could still see WWE being like, oh, she lost, so she has to kind of earn another kind of championship match, but we'll see. I don't believe either of them are on Raw, besides those backstage segments that they already had from WrestleMania, but interesting to see where they go from here, but I don't think Shayna's ruined at all. I would say she was more dominant throughout the match, and just kind of got that kind of fluky loss, so I don't think this will hurt her at all, and I expect her to be challenging for the title soon.
I do think a rematch will happen. I do think the belt ultimately goes to Shayna. That's still my prediction. I thought it would happen in Mania, but I could see, like I said last week, Becky possibly winning, and then Shayna getting the belt at some point, which I still expect to happen. Could you see a scenario where they keep the belt on Becky even longer now that she's been champion for over a year and they build to, I don't think this is going to happen, but it's possible, a Becky versus Ronda Rousey match. I don't think Ronda, under these conditions and circumstances, would want to come back anyway. She was on Total Divas about a year ago, and she was talking about preparing for a zombie apocalypse. If she's that freaked out about certain stuff, I highly doubt she's going to want to fly out to the PC during a freaking pandemic. So I don't see that happening, but could you see a scenario where we get Becky and Ronda for the Raw Women's Championship, maybe at some point between now and SummerSlam?
It's definitely possible. The company could, I think. So normally, I feel like when you have a champion for a year, it's at the point of the year, it's okay, been there, done that. It's kind of over at this point. I feel like Becky still has enough steam and kind of I don't even know, aura of the character that she can keep it going. I think the company probably can see that as well. I think that's why they're probably like teasing a heel turn, just so like she's champion for a year and now she's going on a heel turn. She can carry it even longer. I think she could, like you said, beat Shayna again. I mean, I think that would kind of ruin Shayna at this point.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
But they don't really care about that at this point. And then she just kind of goes on another couple months of beating everyone, and then she says no one can beat me. Yada yada yada. Ronda comes back. They face off. She loses, I'm assuming. I don't think she's going to beat Ronda. If she beat Ronda, she beat literally everyone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, like you said, Ronda seems like she's, scared to come out of her house. So, I don't see nothing. But like I said, if Becky beats Shayna again, then what do you do from there? I don't know. So, I think, like you said, endgame is definitely Shayna being champion, but if Becky wins, where do you go? I don't want to see her versus Nia Jax. I'm sorry. I didn't even know she was employed still until I saw her.
You texted me.
I texted you that. I'm like, they're like, oh, Nia Jax coming back. I'm like, wait, she still works here?
But she's not like most girls.
She could be out for 2 years or 6 months, and I would have no idea. I think the company is big on her. I just don't think the fans really care. But we'll see what happens with Becky and the whole title picture. But overall, for the match, thought it was a good match. Could have used a couple more minutes, but I thought it was a good match.
I know you know that WrestleMania was too big for just one night, but did you know that Nia Jax is not like most girls?
Yeah, I did know that. She's not like most girls.
I know she can't. First of all, why wouldn't they just keep it a surprise? Second of all, it sucks that she had to return in front of nobody. Not that I really care anyway, because I'm not her biggest fan, but it's I agree. I do see them going to Becky and Nia at some point, playing off of how she injured Becky, but beyond that, what do you do with Nia Jax? I think that's been the question for a long time now, because she's feuded and beaten everybody for the most part. I don't know. I just have no desire to see her and Becky, although from a storyline standpoint, it does make sense. It's a lot like... I would rather see this, though. I've pitched the idea, and as other people have, I'm not the first one to say this, but like McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal. Now, listen, I hate Jinder Mahal, but it would make sense to do a feud between the two. Because of the former 3MB thing, and then Jinder's a former champion. As a Raw match, I think it's okay. As a pay-per-view match, no thanks. I think the same can be said for Becky and Nia. As a filler feud, maybe in between pay-per-views, but at SummerSlam, I have no desire to see that at all. To have her beat Shayna ultimately to lose to Nia Jax, to me, would be a complete waste. And with Shayna, it's all about the aftermath. We said this a week ago with Nakamura, but Nakamura, when he lost in Mania, I'm like, okay, that was a little dumb, but he could always win at the next pay-per-view. And then he lost. I'm like, okay, maybe at the next pay-per-view. And he lost again. And then he kept losing, and he never won the championship. So hopefully Shayna's not the next, she isn't the next Shinsuke Nakamura, and she wins the championship at some point.
I have one last question for you. Do you think Becky got more offense than you expected her to get at?
Yeah, she did. I thought, if anything... If they were going to do this finish, I thought they would have her... Because it was so competitive, I thought Shayna would win. But because it was so... Again, because it was so competitive, that was the outcome that I expected. But if Becky was going to win, usually the story they tell is Shayna dominating her for 20 minutes. And not even maybe 5-6 minutes or whatever. Because her being an offense for so long will get boring at some point. And then Becky somehow pulls out the fluke victory. That's kind of how I expected it going if Becky was going to win. So when I saw, when I saw it was more competitive, I thought it would be okay, Shayna's going to win, and then she didn't. So yeah, I was a little surprised by that. I don't think this makes Shayna's Elimination Chamber win irrelevant, because they were all losers anyway, dude. It's not like she broke the Undertaker's streak and then she got beaten. Rhea breaking Shayna's, streak or reign, whatever, and then losing to Charlotte, I think was a waste a little bit. I'll get to that later. This, not so much, because they were all scrubs anyway. So it's not she beat all these top-tier talent and then she lost to Becky. To me, it doesn't really matter that much, because that match shouldn't have happened in the first place. I think she's fine. I don't think she's damaged goods at all yet. But
damaged goods at all. When I predicted last week, I said I thought Becky would get her ass kicked the whole fight and then get that fluky win. But I thought she was a lot more competitive than I expected she was going to be. No. I'm not sure. You probably know better than I do. I don't have the memory you do. When the Ember Moon Shayna match, similar finish, Ember got killed all in the match, right?
I feel like she did, yeah. I'd have to go back and watch it.
She had the arm injury, I'm pretty sure. She had the taped up elbow, if my memory serves me right. I'm pretty sure Shayna killed her the whole fight, and then she kind of won that fluky way. And that's what I kind of expected for this, but I will say I'm very surprised. how much offense Becky got in.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious to know what the reaction would have been had they done this in front of a crowd, because I know Becky's popular, but I think people are kind of pulling for Shayna. I feel like she would have gotten booed, and I said this a month ago when people were asking me if Becky was going heel, because they were kind of teasing it a little bit. It seemed like it anyway, when she was getting way too overconfident. She came out wearing like the king's crown and whatever. Like, she looked like a goof. But it would have made sense if she went heel, and I guess she still could. I would only have her go heel if she dropped the belt, and then maybe she goes crazy or whatever. But then you kind of need a top face, and Charlotte is not that top face. So maybe turning her heel right now isn't really for the better anyway. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised I'm definitely surprised that she won. But as long as Sheena wins it in the end, I think all is forgiven.